What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. So in this video I want to talk about how I plan to insulate this fan and why I plan to insulate it that way. So what is the point of insulation? In a van, it is to prevent condensation and to slow down the temperature transfer from outside of the van and inside of the van. So that means when it's hot outside, it slows down how long it takes for it to get hot inside of the van. When it's cold outside, it slows down how long it takes to get cold inside the van. So with that said, there is that huge debate whether you should or should not have a moisture barrier. Personally, I've never used one until now, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. And I've always gotten mold in my van every single time, except for hopefully this time. Hopefully it works out that way. So I am, when I got this thing, I completely stripped everything out. And when it came from the factory, it had a big thick sheet of plastic glued all the way around, covering this thing, much like this thick black, I think it's polyethylene is the name of this type of plastic, made to be a moisture barrier. So I put that back on. I put them back on the side doors, and I stopped so I could show you what was going on here. Basically, you've got, these big areas and all these supporting pieces of the frame to make everything strong. And I'm just going around with silicone sealant, which is mold proof for 10 years and on, and just went around the whole area and put some in the middle so I could press fit it on and just stuck it on there. And I got so lucky that I had these side panels pre-cut out. Of course, I cut this part out so I could use it for something else before, actually for the floor. It's right down under there. So I had this that I already had the outline. I could just trace and cut it out. That made it much easier for me. And I'll use these in the future when I'm paneling the whole way up. So that was the first step. And I'm also going to cover all of these parts up with plastic. Now, behind these panels on the floor is, all the way on the bottom, are little drain holes so that when condensation does build up in there, if and when, it can drain out the bottom, and hopefully you won't have any issues with mold. If you do, and if you do this right, it will be completely sealed in there and you'll never even know it. If you do it wrong, then you're going to have a problem. So you have to be really careful to make sure these things are sealed up all the way if you're going to do this. I mean, like, all the way. And you may or may not want to add some of this, like, rattle trap or something similar inside of here to get rid of this noise. You hear how it kind of dings? And then you hit this and it's just like a little thud. This has a ring to it and you want to get rid of that. I did not do that on this van because I'm going to be insulating over it quite a bit, and I just don't have the money to spend $100 or whatever to put a bunch of rattle trap in here. So I think these panels are small enough. Even on this side, I think I'll be okay without it. I at least got it on the wheel wells and that thing, so that'll help. So that's step one. Step two is I've got this 3-in-1 underlayment, and this is closed cell foam on the back, and then on this side it has this reflective thing, and this is good for sound and for as a thermal insulation thing. And it's supposed to be, I don't know how good it is at it, but it's supposed to be a vapor barrier too, hence the 3-in-1 thing. So what I'm gonna do next is take this stuff and put it on the windows like this and fill in this area and tape it in really well. And I'm going to put the reflective part on the back for the main reason is because I want when someone walks by the van at night, or their headlights are shining on the back windows at night, I don't want them to see the reflective part and have a good indicator that somebody's living in here or sleeping in here or whatever. I want to stay as stealthy as possible, but I want to cover up all these windows because they really just are like a magnifier for the heat coming in. So I'm going to use this, and it'll also, the heat will hit this, it'll go through the glass, it'll hit this, and then it'll kind of soak up inside of here, and I think this is reflective on the back side of this as well. So the idea is that it'll kind of shoot all that heat back out and hopefully at least prevent all of it from coming in, because it gets really hot in here when it's in the sun from all these windows. Even though they're tinted really dark, this is not like ceramic tints or anything, so it lets a lot of heat in. So the next step after I put this on the windows is to get some probably 1/2-inch insulation. I want to go real light. I'm sticking to warm and somewhat hot climates, so I don't want to use too much insulation that it'll trap all the heat in that inevitably gets in here during the day. I want it to be able to air out really quick, but I also want to slow down how fast it heats up and really cover up these windows to prevent the heat from coming in. So that's my mission with that. So 1/2 inch foam insulation all the way across this. There's different types. There's at least 3 different types. You know, there's this cheap stuff with the big balls pretty much melted together, and then there's like XPS, and then there's another kind, I forget what it's called. I'm gonna go with the mid-grade stuff, I think. Still researching that, not fully decided. But this stuff, I guess, is a little less resistant to moisture than the more expensive kinds. So I want to get that on here. And then I'm going to do another layer of this moisture barrier over the whole thing. And I left the flooring, I left a gap down here, and it's open. So it's going to come out to about right here. And then if any moisture builds up in there, it can come down here and drain. And then when I drive, the floor heats up really well, and it's got openings all the way around it. And should be able to evaporate during the day when I drive or when it's warm out. So that's the idea, that's the theory. Hopefully it works. I think it will. There's nothing under here that is, molds easily unless I get some kind of organic material, spill some soup or something under here. I shouldn't have an issue. So the next step after I insulate with foam board over all of this is going to be the paneling. And I think I mentioned I'm going to cover all these holes as well too. There are holes back behind the taillights and down at the bottom where moisture can escape. So once all the insulation is up and then the vapor barrier on top of that, which is going to be completely sealed off, I'm going to do the sealing as well with either Thinsulate or this stuff. Just sealing everything like that and then taping it off and making a seal so it's pretty much watertight. And then, yeah, everything will be all sealed off. And one thing, sorry, there's so much to cover here. I'm trying here. One thing I forgot to mention is that all of this metal will be covered by something, whether it's Thinsulate, which I've got a bunch of, or this stuff. All of it's going to be covered by something before the vapor barrier to slow down the transfer, because I'm guessing everybody has an idea of how condensation works. You know, you have the cold, non-porous material. It's cold from the outside air, and then the inside is warm and humid, so all the moisture in the air like meets at this cold point and it turns into condensation, and then it falls, and then you've got a big pool of water in there. So after all this, everything's covered, and then moisture barrier, I'm going to cover it with Luan, which is painted with mold-proof paint. And after that's dry, I'm going to cover that with some speaker cabinet carpet. So they sell this, I've seen other people do this with this carpeting. They sell it for like boats, like the marine grade stuff or whatever. But the more I looked into it and the more I read about the manufacturers, like I guess ingredients list, I don't know what you call it. It sounds exactly the same as speaker cabinet carpet. Maybe they add something that's mold proof, but mold doesn't grow on the material that it's made out of, which I think is polyethylene or I don't know, it's some type of plastic. It doesn't grow on that, so it's not an issue, and it's somewhat breathable. The only problem I can foresee running into with this carpet is that it does hold dust, but it's easy enough to vacuum dust. The biggest problem, though, is that if I'm cooking or something and I splash a bunch of chicken juice or, I don't know, coconut oil or whatever on it, then it's going to hold that, and that will totally mold because it's organic material. It'll be really hard to clean off, too. It's a lot easier to clean smooth surfaces than something like carpet, but I don't plan to be cooking in here very often. And I think it's got good sound deadening qualities, and it looks nice, it looks finished, and that's good to go. So before I actually put the foam board and stuff up, I got this Rev Nut kit, or Riv Nut. It's what this is you can drill a hole in the metal, and then you can insert this piece that has a threaded insert like that, and then you use the just like a rivet, you squash the thing on the back side with this, and then you've got a very secure threaded area where you can bolt anything into, which is like super strong. So that's awesome. Hopefully this thing works. I got it from Harbor Freight. It was like $20 instead of like $70 for a good one on Amazon or Home Depot or something. So I hope that works. If it doesn't, I'll return it and get another one until I get one that works enough to do this. And then once I got to figure out where to put them all, because what I'm going to do is get some of that L-Track, that aircraft L-Track stuff. They use it a lot in a lot of the new Sprinter builds, and like schoolies, like actual school buses have them built in. They use them for all kinds of stuff. So that'll allow me to bolt anything I want to the walls securely, and it'll be incredibly strong, like way stronger than I need it. And then I can do anything I want in here. I can bolt up a big cabinet right here, then bolt up a bed platform back here made out of aluminum or PVC pipes or whatever I want without any legs to maximize storage. And if I change my mind and I want a different layout, then I don't have to rip everything apart. I can just pull that part out and bolt a new part in. So that's, I think that's a really clever way to go. So that's how I'm going to do this. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. I'm going to get busy on getting this stuff done. It's boring. I don't want to film that. And it takes so much time to get the creative shots and stuff. I'm just not feeling it today. So I just want to make this video and let you guys know where I'm at with this build. And hopefully it can help some people. And yeah, so thanks for watching. See you next time. Love yourself.